have certainly made the right choice by joining us on the most comprehensive bulletin in the country. This is KTN Prime. My name is Wilson Buru.
And I'm Nancy Kachungira. William Silla is our sign language interpreter. Now we begin with news that is currently reverberating around the world.
Now, Catholic Bishop Gor Mahia and 4 others have been sentenced to death for the murder of Isiolo Bishop Luigi Locati on the night of the 14th of July, the year 2005.
High Court Judge Fred Ocheng found the 5 guilty of murdering the Italian-born bishop at the Isiolo diocese in what is believed to have been a fight for control of that diocese.
Father Gor Mahia was sentenced to death alongside Mohammed Malu Bagajo, Adan Ibrahim Mohammed, Mahat Ali Halake and Roba Bala Bariche. According to the evidence presented in court, the 5 acted together in planning the murder of the 67-year-old bishop. Justice Fred Ocheng in his ruling held that the accused persons were, quote, directly involved in the planning and killing of the bishop, end quote.
The most appropriate sentence in this case, and which I hereby hand down, is that each and every one of the 5 accused persons is hereby sentenced to suffer death as by law prescribed.
According to the evidence, Father Gor paid the 4 hitmen 50,000 shillings and ferried the killers to the bishop's residence on the night of the 14th of July 2005. It is alleged that Father Gor wanted to take over control from the bishop who had established the Isiolo diocese in the 1970s. A 6th person who was accused was, however, acquitted due to lack of evidence linking him to the murder.
He has local priests, very few. He has some other missionaries with him. I hope and I pray that they are safe. And the government will hunt those who are responsible.
For family and friends of Bishop Luigi Locati, justice has finally been served, albeit a decade later. For them, they remember waking up on the morning of the 15th of July to a lifeless body of Father Luigi just outside his house in Isiolo. He had been shot twice. His watchman witnessed the incident and paid for it dearly. The news shocked Catholic faithful not just here in Kenya but around the world. Gor Mahia's mother fainted and died on Wednesday after learning that her son had been found guilty of killing Bishop Locati.
In respect to the death of the mother of Father Male, this court offers him its deepest sympathies.
Perhaps finally, Bishop Luigi Locati can rest in peace. Catherine Omwanto, KTN.
Let's go now to the man of the week, which is Victor Kanyari, and the Director of Public Prosecutions, Keriako Tobiko, wants Pastor Kanyari investigated following an expose by KTN on Jichopevu and the Inside Story. The DPP wants Kanyari probed on suspicion of, among others, obtaining by false pretense, cheating and conspiracy to defraud. The DPP has also asked KTN to assist investigators in tracing the victims and witnesses in the investigative piece to offer evidence.
KTN's expose, Makria Injili on Jichopevu and prayer predators on the Inside Story, which exposed Pastor Victor Kanyari's exploits, including coached testimonies and fake healing, has got the country talking quite literally and has generated overwhelming reactions, especially on the social media.
Hapa niko na mwingine ambaye huyu ambaye unamuona hapa alituma sadaka ya 310 akiwa nyumbani, atatuambia ni wapi, na alipotuma sadaka ya 310 alikuwa hana kazi.
As Kanyari of the Salvation Healing Ministries continues to trend, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Keriako Tobiko, is seeking to have action taken against Kanyari. The DPP, who is in possession of the Swahili and English investigative pieces by KTN, has forwarded them to the Director of Criminal Investigations. Tobiko wants the DCI to constitute a team to review them and determine whether Victor Kanyari's activities constitute criminal offenses.
So if you believe Prophet Kanyari, you get your miracle. If you don't believe in me, you can't receive your miracle.
The DPP wants Kanyari investigated for, among others, obtaining money by false pretense, cheating, and conspiracy to defraud.
Niko na shida ya matiti, nilikuambia kwa message. Nianza to wait.
Matiti?
Inauma hata mpaka silali. Nikienda hospitali ananiambia kuna kitu.
The DPP has also written to KTN through its managing editor, Joe Ageo, asking for assistance in tracing victims and witnesses in the Kanyari investigative piece to help investigators with relevant evidence. Makria Injili by Muhammad Ali on Jichopevu and Prayer Predators by John Alanamu on The Inside Story exposed how Victor Kanyari coached people to offer false testimonies and faked healing and miracles, sometimes with the use of potassium permanganate to create an illusion that evil spirits had been banished. Rita Tinina, KTN.
And the head of the Catholic Church in Kenya, Archbishop John Cardinal Njue, has blamed the government for the spate of insecurity witnessed in the country in the last couple of months. Njue says that the manner in which the government and security apparatus have handled security issues has painted the picture of a system incapable of protecting Kenyan lives. Linda Oguta tells us more.
Baragoi, 40 police officers dead. Westgate attack, over 67 people dead. Mpeketoni attack, over 60 people dead. Kapedo attack, 21 police officers dead. Part of the security statistics that has put the Uhuru administration on the spotlight as Kenyan lives are lost. The latest attack on administration police officers in Kapedo on the border between Turkana and Baringo has now seen the head of the Catholic Church in Kenya, John Cardinal Njue, break his silence. Cardinal Njue says the government is not only to blame for insecurity lapses facing the country, but also for the loss of the 21 police officers as well.
News that slain officers at Kapendo appealed for backup and no response was forthcoming for more than 30 hours is a clear indication that there are dangerous gaps in our security apparatus.
Questions have been raised on whether or not the top officers in the security docket are indeed qualified to run the dockets, with many calling for an overhaul.
In responsible democracies, the top police command would have taken personal responsibility by now.
Njue says the country may need to re-examine the men and women overseeing the security docket, if only to stop the loss of Kenyan lives.
There is an urgent need for overhaul. This is not the first time that we are raising this issue with the government.
There have been several promises of leaving no stone unturned every time lives are lost. There has been no official communication as yet on who was responsible and culpable in the Westgate attack more than a year down the line. Residents of Malaha village in Webuye East constituency, Bungoma County, are yet to be told who hacked their neighbors. Families in Peketoni are still waiting to be told who shot and hacked their family members 5 months down the line. And focus in Kapedo seems to be on the guns and uniforms stolen from the fallen officers. There are several other questions on other attacks witnessed in the country. It is these statistics and the seeming inability by the government to handle the root cause of insecurity that aches the man of God.
How many more Kenyans, including security officers, must lose their lives before real order is restored?
A concern that perhaps many Kenyans share.
Kila anasikia matukio kama haya, mtu anauawa, unasikia ameuawa na watu wasiojulikana na hawajulikani, sasa imekuwa lugha ya kawaida kule kutojulikana.
Njue says time is running out for the government to address insecurity in the country and save its citizens. The solution, he says, lies with the government.
One major cause of rampant insecurity in parts of this country is inequitable development.
Njue's voice is only the latest as several leaders raise concerns over insecurity in the country and the government's ability to take control. Linda Ogutu, KTN Prime.
The Big Q in association with Total Ports.
Nancy, the Jubilee administration has been in power for 1 year and about 8 months now, and it seems that the biggest challenge that this administration has faced now is security. There have been a lot of people dying in security situations. This is not even the first time that the president is being told to overhaul his security docket, is it?
Absolutely, and this indictment just comes a few days after IPOA themselves pointed fingers at the police and saying that their inefficiency was actually part of the reason for these killings that we're having. Well, let's go to our big Q this evening. We'd like you to weigh in on this issue and tell us whether you actually agree with Cardinal Njue that Uhuru needs to overhaul the security docket.
Well, you can get us on SMS 22155 is the SMS number. You can get us on Twitter at Wilson_Mburu at Kachungira. And we'll of course continue to sample some of your views and give you a poll result at the end of this live newscast.
Total Ports improves the output of your engine, allowing you to go further with each tankful. Total Ports, more protection and more kilometers.
Let's stick with the security matters, and the leadership of the National Police Service is not to blame for the killing of 18 officers in Kapedo last week. The Inspector General of Police, David Kimayo, says Kenyans should not point the blaming finger before investigations are concluded. KTN's Asha Mulu attended special prayers held in honor of the slain officers.
An all too familiar tune for the National Police Service. This time, they sing in honor of 18 administration police officers killed in the line of duty in Kapedo. While the attack was a hard pill for their colleagues to swallow, at a prayer service for the slain officers, it was police bosses who were left with a bitter taste.
Our security challenges, ladies and gentlemen, cannot be solved by attacks directed at the police leadership. So I say, let's soberly consider the circumstances that pervade our officers' facilitating work environments.
The dead is in the mortuary. The officers are mourning. And we are pointing fingers right and left, without even consoling the relatives and the officers. It is time for us to rise higher than those petty issues.
Thorough investigations must be undertaken to identify and prosecute those who are responsible for the planning, financing, and execution of these acts.
The tone was echoed by members of parliament who renewed their pledge to legislate urgent policy on cattle rustling.
We are reviewing the laws regarding cattle rustling. We cannot have a situation where people come, they kill, they steal cows, then tomorrow we tell them wazee wakae chini, watatue, na watu wamuliwa. That is robbery with violence, that is murder, and it must go with the same penalty. When the Inspector General, don't be intimidated by we politicians. If they are politicians involved in this, let them be arrested.
On the sidelines, the Inspector General of Police faulted accusations that police bosses failed to send reinforcement to the officers despite receiving distress calls.
In the reign of that place, there was no even a network. There was no network.
What about reports that a majority of the fallen officers were new recruits with little experience?
What experience? You know, experience is where you are part of some people. But our officers have been trained to also support the people.
Today's prayer service not only carried a nostalgia from 2 years ago when 42 police officers were killed in a similar circumstance in Baragoi, but it also reignited debate over whether police bosses and government officials are doing enough to ensure that police officers have the facilities they need to curb the security challenges in the country. Asha Mwilu, KTN, Nairobi.
And disgruntled ODM members are now accusing Party Secretary General Professor Anyang' Nyong'o of running down the party. ODM Chairman Hopeful and Funula parliamentarian Paul Otuoma claims that the turmoil in the party is a culmination of Nyong'o's poor leadership. KTN senior political reporter Sam Ogina has that story.
A revolt in the Orange Party is reaching boiling point as the orange taste degenerates into a sour lime. And now some members are singling out the Secretary General for the turmoil in the party.
Mheshimiwa Anyang' Nyong'o amekuwa kwa hii chama tangu ianzishwe. Yeye ndio anasimamia hii secretariat. Na tumekuwa na shida baada ya shida. Na hiyo saa nyingine sisi tunasema ni changamoto ya chama kikubwa. Lakini hatuwezi kuendelea mpaka wakati secretariat yenyewe haiwezi kufanya kazi.
Professor Anyang' Nyong'o's reversal of a takeover of the executive director position by former political detainee Wafula Buke has landed him in the line of fire. Western ODM leaders have thrown caution to the wind in trying to grab the executive director's position.
Na mimi kama mwenyekiti wa chama katika Nairobi County ninaunga mkono yeye achukue acting. Kwa sababu ule tunasema ama tunamzungumzia hayuko. Wewe umemwona hayuko. Kwa hivyo hii chama ni kubwa na chama kabila zote. Na Waluya wako ndani ya chama. Na tena nataka kurudia naongea kama Mluya. Tunaelewana vizuri? Na na support yeye kwa acting ED. Na wakileta mchezo na hii kiti ya Buke, then tutafikiria mara nyingine.
These are extraordinary circumstances. And I tend to think that what Buke has done, in my view, is the right thing. Somebody must make a decision. If you can't make that decision as the Secretary General of the party, just because you are partisan and you want certain positions or certain situations to emerge, then there's something wrong. And that's where some of us are saying it must come out now very clearly. ODM is not a preserve of few people. ODM, we have all contributed to this party, and it is our right to participate in the affairs of this party.
Disgruntled ODM members are attributing the turmoil in the Orange Party to what they are calling as Nyong'o's perilous leadership since the formation of the party. Nyong'o is accused of orchestrating a crisis within the party secretariat.
He has created parallel lines at the secretariat. There are people who are just there like spectators. He just deals with a certain section. So he's actually also responsible for even these parallel, views or groups that we are getting within ODM, which is not right, because we should be trying to bring members together. Today we are very much aware that the Secretary General only works with certain employees and not others.
The same people who actually alleged that Magaret's conduct was out of order are the same people who now allegedly are ousting Magaret, contrary to the provisions of the party constitution, contrary to the directions of the party leader, which means some of them are up to sabotage the party, and I really think these are people, in fact, they said they're going to be investigating moles. I think they should start by investigating themselves as being moles themselves.
The accusations leveled against Nyong'o for slow puncturing the ODM vessel reignites debate on the generational change in the ODM party leadership.
We want the register brought here.
Since falling apart of the party elections and subsequent task force report on the election violence nearly 4 months ago, the ODM party leaders have kept in office a caretaker leadership structure that has left open rebellion festering within the party. Sam Ogina, KTN.
From politics, let's go to a story of hope. And as candidates throughout the country wrapped up KCPE examinations today and headed home, Joshua and Dennis returned to their hospital beds for medication. It is a story that we have been following since the two started their exams on Tuesday, despite chronic illness that led to their admission at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret. Marcy Kandie tells us more.
It's the final paper, the final exam in the nationwide Kenya Certificate of Primary Education, Social Studies and Religious Education paper At the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret, it's their faith and hope this far for 14-year-old Joshua Cherchir suffering from chronic kidney failure and 15-year-old Dennis Kipngeno diagnosed with leukemia 3 weeks ago. The invigilator collects the answer sheets, what marks the end of a journey taken against all odds. Their parents know too well the kind of success achieved today, one of a 3-day journey that with every passing day they emerge more victorious than the previous day. Other candidates leave the exam room to head home, and though that remains their aim, they head to the Umoja ward, bed 42 to be exact. It's where their friendship has developed over time. Joshua has dialysis in the evening. He's been doing it since June, and when his face swells, it's an indication that he needs dialysis. He had to delay this week as he did exams.
November, January, kidneys imekuwa nzuri kwa sababu imenisumbua katika shule ya msingi na nikienda shule ya upili naomba kidneys imekuwa nzuri.
Since the story aired on KTN on Monday when they started exams, well-wishers have chipped in, each trying to enable Joshua get the kidney transplant and Dennis maintain the leukemia. Senator Charles Keter, Farouk Kibet and Ruben Mayo kickstarting the testing process with 500,000 shillings.
Ninaendelea kuomba Wakenya waendelee kutusaidia. Hasa nilikuhusia tena kama mheshimiwa wetu His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta na deputy yake William Ruto wafanye kitu.
I sit and have a chat with them, the resilience seen shining through their eyes. It's a story they hope to tell in secondary school after the results are out early next year. A new chapter, a new story to tell. 3 days later, and for these two very courageous young boys, it's one down, one more to go. They tell me with the same courage they faced the KCPE, it's the same courage they will face the fight ahead, the fight for a healthier life. Marcy Kandiye, KTN, at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County.
Definitely wonderful for those boys that they're getting some financial help with what is obviously a very expensive medical treatment.
Absolutely, and such a story, such a heart-wrenching story, you know, and filled with a lot of hope. Let's remind you of our big question tonight, rather, before we go on a break, rather. Do you agree with Cardinal Njue that Uhuru should overhaul the security docket? Remember that John Cardinal Njue has suggested that the security docket after the Kapedo incident should be overhauled. Has suggested this to the president, and we're asking, do you agree with Cardinal Njue that the president should overhaul the security docket? A lot of response coming in. Let me read this one here from Linda Marcells. It says, yes, he should, and had he done that just after Westgate, who knows, maybe Mpeketoni and the rest could have been avoided.
Yes, quite a few responses coming in. Thank you. Do keep those coming. Remember, you can tweet us at KTN Kenya, at Kachingira, at Wilson_Mburu. If you prefer to send an SMS, please go ahead and do that. 22155. That's the number. Start with a yes or no so that we're able to compile all of your thoughts into a poll result at the end of this bulletin. We'll be back after this break.
Just ahead, Maasai youth warned lawyer Akben Nasir over his war with Oleleng.
You're watching KTN.
Welcome back back. You're watching KTN Prime. Now, a group of Maasai youth leaders are now threatening to take matters into their own hands if the government fails to protect members of the Maasai community from being thrown out of the 120,000-acre Nguruman Ranch.
This comes days after Interior Cabinet Secretary Joseph Olelenko lodged a criminal complaint against lawyer Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi for linking him to the alleged land grabbing.
They have requested the Inspector General of Police David Kimayo to investigate claims of lawyer Ahmed Nasir advising his clients ARM themselves in the fight over the land.
We the Maasai will not move an inch in that land. We will stay on that land which our forefathers fought for, shed blood for, and died for. How does a foreigner expect us to pay trespass in our land?
We are aware that Ahmed Nasir is part of a wider scheme to take over land in Maasai areas. This is something we shall never allow to take place. In this regard, we request the Inspector General of Police, Mr. David Kimayo, to investigate the reports that Ahmed Nasir has advised his clients to buy guns, so that if indeed this is the case, we too can arm ourselves against alien invaders of our land. We also would like to ask Interior Cabinet Secretary Mr. Olelenko and Inspector General of Police to tell us if the government will provide us with protection against Ahmed Nasir clients, or should we too buy our own guns.
Let's now cross over to Meru County, where residents living near Meru Level 5 Hospital mortuary are an uncomfortable lot. They say that since the cold room stopped functioning a while back, life near the mortuary has become unbearable because of the smell that comes out of there.
Families come to collect the bodies of their loved ones, but the foul smell makes a sad situation even more painful. Residents living close to the mortuary lament that the smell emanating from the mortuary has been a constant daily punishment for months now.
Hiyo mortuary inakuwaga chafu sana, harufu inakutaga mpaka kwa nyumba na mainzi. Kwanza wakati ile wanazika wanafanya disposal, hatukaagi area hii, tunatakalia kwenda kukaa ya harufu.
Hii mili zimekuwa tu madawa tu, mafomari, harufu inajaa kila mahali, na bado wanachomata hizi uchafu hapa za masindano na madawa.
According to Suleiman Mohammed, an attendant at the facility, the cold room has never been repaired since it broke down years ago. The mortuary that has a capacity to accommodate 20 bodies now has 8 times its capacity with 160 bodies. Residents now want the county government to intervene and repair the cold rooms, or better yet expand the overcrowded mortuary. However, according to Meru County Governor Peter Munya, the county government is set to work with the Kenya Methodist University to expand the facility to help students studying medicine at the university.
Ile mortuary tunaitengeneza vizuri kuongeza fridges, ndio iwe mortuary ya kisasa ambayo inahudumia miili, msiende huko unaanza kushika kula ya.
Residents have urged the leaders to hasten the expansion in order to save them from the appalling state of affairs. Betty Kialo, KTN.
You're watching KTN Prime. Let's remind you of our big Q this evening. We asked you whether you agree with Cardinal Njoya that Uhuru should overhaul the security docket. Thank you for your responses, which are coming in thick and fast. I'm going to read a tweet here from Nelly Koske, who says, I strongly agree. Empty promises do not quench the pains that Kenyans have gone through because insecurity is out of hand.
Stanley here says self-preservation overrides any other interests. I'm not holding my breath, waiting to see any changes in the country's security sector.
Well, remember to give us your feedback as well. Tweet us at KTN Kenya, at Kachingira, and at Wilson_Mburu, or send us an SMS on 22155.
Take a short break now, but don't you go away. Join Doreen Bira is standing by with the day's business.
Meru
This is KTN Business. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. Manufacturing company Flame Tree Group is off to a flying start after listing its 161 million shares on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Listing at 8 shillings a share, the company's stock hit 13 shillings and 50 cents in less than 2 hours, closing the day at 13 shillings and 85 cents. This will be comforting for the tank and cosmetics maker that is using the listing to raise its profile. KTN's Charles Kitonga kicks off our business bulletin.
It's a day that I've dreamed of as an entrepreneur from the day I started business, that one day we will list on the stock exchange.
Indeed, for Heril Bangera, the dream had finally come to life 25 years later. The Flame Tree Group has had a good run on the first day of trading, with its share price gaining 73% to close at 13 shillings and 85 cents, having touched a high of 14 shillings.
We are happy with the liquidity that the shares will create. We believe in the future of the company.
Listing of Flame Tree on the growth and enterprise segment of the exchange comes as an encouraging gesture for the boss. Following its launch in 2013, the gems market now has 2 companies listed, with NSE calling on other medium-sized private companies in Kenya to consider taking the same step in efforts to grow that segment of the market and improve their governance.
We know that this listing is a challenge to a lot of those family companies especially, who have been afraid of coming to the exchange.
Flame Tree's listing is also anchored on investor confidence. Local investors are also quoting the sound business environment in Kenya as one of the major reasons why they are confident to go public, with the sole purpose of raising capital for expansion to other markets.
Confidence is strong and Kenya is growing. It's a fabulous country to invest in.
Charles Gitonga, KTN.
Sevicon has signed a 25-year power purchase agreement with Kenya Power for its 35 megawatts Menengai geothermal power project. The deal, signed in association with Sevicon's project partners Ormat Technologies and Symbian Power, will now facilitate the power purchase pact for the consortium's O-Power. Now, O-Power 22 project is a special purpose vehicle for the consortium members, has also signed a project implementation and steam supply agreement with the geothermal development company. Under the agreement, O-Power 22 will finance, design, construct, install, operate and maintain the proposed Menengai geothermal project on a build-own-operate basis for 25 years. To support the project, GDC will develop the geothermal resource supply, the steam for conversion to electricity, and maintain the geothermal field through the term of agreement. Kenya Power will in turn purchase the energy generated by the project. And in more business, the recent move to embrace the cashless payment platform in public transport, especially matatus, has come not only as relief to consumers but also for matatu operators. Tonight, KTN's Abi Agina takes a close look at the benefits the new fare payment platform offers and what it translates to in terms of cost savings and combating rampant corruption in the country's public transport sector.
The push to champion for the use of new technologies is increasingly taking a hold of key sectors in the country's economy. Banks have continued to lead the way in developing new payment solution platforms in conjunction with the telecommunication and ICT firms. The latest to join the bandwagon is the chaotic public transport sector. The sector is transitioning from a highly manual model to a cashless one. So why is this the way to go for the sector, which accounts for close to 500 billion shillings in investments, and what does it mean for businesses?
We have been having problems before it has been introduced, whereby maybe you ought to dash out of the vehicle, roaming around looking for a change.
Cash flow from the passenger to the vehicle owner's bank account will be real time.
For the government, it could mean a more systemic way of netting income from a sector that has long remained under the radar.
Appropriate and affordable digital solutions. I am happy to note that the industry now readily embraces IT. An efficient public transport system is the only way we can eliminate the negative economic, social, and environmental impact of traffic congestion.
The cashless system is envisaged to help clamp down on corruption in the matatu industry, which is notorious for the vice.
There will be no cash in the vehicle, reducing the opportunities for corrupt practices.
The matatu industry is among the single largest employers in the country, accounting for close to 10% of the country's workforce. The government is keen to emulate countries such as South Africa, Egypt, and Ghana that have efficient public transport systems. Abiagina, KTN Business.
Abby, now we'll have a look at the financial markets. For more business, do log on to our website, standardmedia.co.ke/KTN. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. Wilson Buru is up next with KTN Sports.
Now, KRU Football Club want to join the list of teams that have denied Gor Mahia the title on the final day of this season, that is the KPL season, when they play, the tax collectors plays the title holders on Saturday in Kisumu in a match the Green Army must win to invalidate any result. Sofapaka will register against Tusker. Hassan Juma reports on the title decider.
Ushuru have threatened to boycott the final league match against Gor Mahia if the central referee Amos Wanjala is not dropped. Ushuru's head coach Ken Kenyatta has cited incidents in 3 previous matches against Sony Sugar, Top Fry and AFC Leopards where the central referee Wanjala allegedly made dubious calls in favor of their opponents. He says he has raised the matter with the league referees chairman GMT Otieno.
This game is live in the TV. Everybody's watching, even though they will just take it by force. People will see, like FC, what the FC did in Mumias. They took it by force. Yeah, we were not beaten the normal gamers. They were given the game.
KRA gave Gor Mahia a scare in the first leg match at the Moi Sports Center, Kasarani. And having played for Transcom during his heydays in Kisumu, he is not bothered by the venue change. Although he felt the switch should have been communicated earlier for logistical purposes.
Wachezaji wangu siku zote nafikiri umeona wanacheza under pressure, na wakati timu inashangiliwa, home team inashangiliwa, ndio wangu ucheza ni kama wao ndio wanashangiliwa.
Ken Kenyatta sounded the warning alarm even as Gor Mahia wound up their training at the City Stadium ready to embark on their journey to retain the title. Coach Frank Natal wants to make history by bagging the league title after his short 2-month stint and is not under any pressure despite the club having lost out at the final hurdle in previous 5 years.
We don't regard it as pressure. We see it, what we do as a challenge, and what's coming in front of us is a challenge, and we embrace that challenge and look forward to it. And we look for a solution to the challenge.
A win for Gor Mahia will bag them their second title in 2 years, regardless of what happens in the match between Tusker and Sofapaka. Hassan Juma, KTN Sports Today.
Let's go to rugby now. In a total of 7 matches are lined up on match day 1 of the 2014-2015 Kenya Cup season this weekend. Defending champions Nakuru RFC are under pressure to replicate last season's their form last season. The new season was officially launched today, and the Nakuru-based side will kick off the season against an unpredictable Catholic University Morgue.
After a fine 2013-2014 Kenya Cup extravaganza, the top fry Nakuru, popularly known as the Wanyore, are determined to replicate, if not better, their 2013-2014 performance. The Nakuru-based side will be searching for their third consecutive title. And with a rich pool of talent at his disposal, head tactician Dominic Abimana is optimistic and eager to start on a high.
They are known quantities, so we'll approach them cautiously but also confidently, because what we want is a winning culture, a winning ethos for our young and upcoming players.
On paper, it looks like Nakuru will win, but you know, Catholic caused a lot of upset in the 7th circuit, so we are not leaving anything to chance.
Wanyore will be up against Catholic Monks in the opening match at the Nakuru Athletics Club on Saturday. On paper, Nakuru RFC is the better side, but like any other competition, anything is possible.
There's no small team. All teams are big when you disrespect them.
Some of the key players that Top Fry could unleash on the Monks are Nelson Oyo, Alan Odio, versatile speedster Charles Odhiambo, and international Martin Owila. Moses Wahisi, KTN Sports.
To athletics, and embattled Athletics Kenya chairman Isaac Kiplagat says he's ready to take on the 11 rebel regional chairmen who have demanded that he steps aside. Kiplagat met the 11 members of the executive committee at Riyadh House in a closed-door meeting. It is reported that Kiplagat, who had rubbished calls for a special general meeting called by the regional chairman, appears to have softened his stance. Kiplagat received rare support from a section of officials from the Central Rift region on Wednesday who asked him to ignore calls for a special general meeting. The SGM had been scheduled for November 14th in Nairobi. Well, that's all we had prepared for you tonight on Sports. Well, time to wind up the bulletin, but not before I remind you of our big question tonight, where we did ask you whether you agree with Cardinal Njue that President Uhuru Kenyatta should overhaul the security docket. The results are in. An overwhelming 86% of you say yes, the President should overhaul the security docket, while only 86% said yes, while only 14% said no.
And I'll read some of your SMSs here. This one says, yes, I'm a police officer and we've lost hope in our bosses, especially Kimayo. We've done several operations like in Bungoma and Isiolo, etc. with no pay to motivate us.
Sami Karaoke here says yes. In fact, to be direct to the point, Kimayo and Olelenku are the cause of all these problems.
Another one here from Mwangi says, yes, we need to check police actions. More so, we must preach to bandits to abandon those outlawed methods of earning a living.
Richard K. Yegon here says, I support, and the President should overhaul all top brass. We are used to the phrase, we will investigate.
Another SMS here. This is from Marvel in Umoja. He says the security issue is not just about Olelenku, but every one of us. He may go, but things will remain the same. What is Bishop Njue doing as a person to make sure that Kenyans are safe? Lenku is doing and has been doing his part.
There's another one here from Stephen Kimaru who says, yes, it's dysfunctional to a certain level. Too many loopholes and excuses. Not sure what Uhuru is waiting for.
And Peter Nyak says, no, it is those who did the vetting who should step aside.
Well, thank you very much for your responses.